Hello and welcome. It's The Chat. I am Manny. I'm excited about my guest. Everybody knows him. Well, it's just knowing like Christmas.
Professor Maurice Uwu is a professor of pharmacognosy, a leading voice in research and development, former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). He is currently the head of the COVID-19 task force in Imo State and president and CEO of Bioresources Development Group in Abuja. He was born on the 21st of April 1950. Iwu began his educational journey at Christ the King School and St. Pius X College, Bodogoni, for his primary and secondary education. He attended the School of Pharmacy, University of Bradford, England, where he obtained a Master of Pharmacy degree and PhD in pharmacognosy. His working career spans the realms of academics, research, and administration. He was a professor of pharmacognosy at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, from 1984 to 1993, and a senior research associate at the Division of Experimental Therapeutics of Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, Washington, D.C. He was World Health Organization's visiting scholar to Dyson Perrins Laboratory, the University of Oxford, in 1980, Fulbright Senior Scholar, Ohio State University, and won the U.S. National Research International Prize for Ethnobiology in 1999. He also attended the Leadership and Strategy in Pharmaceuticals and Biotech course at the Harvard Business School, Boston, USA, and for his innumerable contributions to the body of knowledge both at home and abroad, he has received numerous awards. Of note is the Doctor of Letters degree from Imo State University in 2009. In 2005, Iwu succeeded Sir Abel Gwobadia as INEC's chairman and chief electoral officer. To his credit, he successfully conducted the 2007 presidential election, which saw President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua emerge as the winner. During his time as INEC boss, Iwu introduced the electronic voter registration regime and established the Electoral Institute, as well as initiating far-reaching reforms, laying the foundation for future elections in Nigeria. Professor Maurice Uwu has been married to Kate Uwu for almost 50 years. Their union has produced children and grandchildren.
Professor Maurice Uwu, it's such a pleasure meeting you.
The pleasure is mine, Manny. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. How are you feeling? Well, I mean, there are two ways, of course, to feel, especially in these gruesome times.
Yes.
And next door is Christmas.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Two things. I thought they had postponed Christmas for this year because of all that is going on. But here it is. I think even if I want it postponed, my grandchildren will not want it postponed. So I'm feeling great. Then we're also worried about the pandemic that is still trying to come back.
Where did you grow up?
My childhood is mixed. I grew up mainly in a city in Abia State called Aba. I was born there. I grew up there. Then I went to secondary school in Ogoni. 3 members of my family went to the same school, so we enjoyed their hospitality. Till date, I still identify myself as coming from Ogoni. There's some kind of kindred spirit whenever I talk about them.
No, but what was it like when you were growing up in those days in that area?
It was very peaceful. What was very unique was the fact that we didn't have tribalism, so whether you are Igbo, Ogoni, Yoruba, outside, it didn't matter at all. So those of us living in Aba and going to school in Ogoni, for us it was like a big chasm that going to school in the River State. Then it was Port Harcourt. Ogoni was seen as a sub-clan in Port Harcourt, not a city of its own. So when we go from Aba, we say we're going to Port Harcourt.
So when you had your higher education, who or what inspired you?
So more to do with my test for science to start with, and then love of medicine. But I didn't go to study medicine, but more into research.
A lot of people think you have made so many claims to cures.
Yes.
One of them was HIV AIDS. What happened?
No, we didn't just make claims for cures. What we did for HIV, we never ever had any cure for HIV to claim. But what we did was develop a drug. The only drug, chlorpheniramine, that was licensed by the FDA from plant sources. The only. So what is useful for is for the diarrhea that happens in HIV/AIDS. Is people who are suffering from HIV/AIDS as an advanced stage, they have this unstoppable diarrhea that's continuous. So we now found out a product from a plant source that's called chlorpheniramine. Chlorpheniramine now has been licensed by the Japanese, by various groups. When I was in the United States, that was when it was developed. And then the company called Sherman Pharmaceuticals sold it to another company. No, that's how these things go. And at the end, it's a product. But that wasn't the one that did it alone. Well, I belong to a group. And without being...
what contribution did you make?
So the plant-based, they have been able to extract the compound and been able to analyze it. But then we have biochemists, we have pharmacologists, everybody put together. So then the second thing we did, the one that was most certainly was against Ebola. Ebola, as you know, is an incurable viral infection. But because I worked for 10 years with the U.S. Army Hospital in Washington, D.C., the major project they were doing had to do with how do you manage what they call unmet medical needs, particularly if it has the possibility of being used as a biological weapon. And unfortunately, Ebola is classified as a Class A biological weapon. So they were interested in that, but they're also interested in that using it to human beings. They're also interested in tropical diseases. Almost all known anti-malaria drugs have been based on the work done at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. So this is what I do for a living.
Tell me about your book on African plants.
Yes, African medicine.
African medicine or plants. So yeah.
Yes. I have books on that. The very first book I wrote was way back in 1994, called Handbook of African Medicinal Plants. It was published by a company called CRSC Press. In my discipline, it's the top-notch publishers of medical books. So they published it in 1994. 20 years after, they released a volume 2 of it, second edition rather of it, which is also doing well.
How many books of that nature have you published
about
so far?
6.
6 of them?
Yes, about 6. Then I have about 300 research papers that I've written over this year. That's what I do for a living. I've never done contract in my life. I've never traded.
That's more than contracts.
But it doesn't bring money.
It brings joy, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. The whole joy of handling a new book in your hand that you...
Which one of those books have you had the most joy from?
I would say the very first one. Reason because until I did that book, there was no collation of African medicinal plant by an African.
So you're the first
that did something comprehensive in that magnitude by an African. There have been some publications, there have been some people doing one way or the other and so on. So that was the very first time in 1994 that I had also done something on Igbo ethnomedicine, Igbo traditional medicine, which is very, very different from every other one. So what it means that you are looking at your own culture from within.
Well, how come, the Nigerian government does not have so much recognition for traditional medicine?
It's a cultural thing. No, when you have loss of self-esteem, it can do wonders to some horrible things to a person, not to talk of a group like ours. For example, the products for COVID-19, we are not even asking for money. With that we can source from them. All we wanted was to speed up the processes. But most people, you go from one person to the other. Even the universities are labor.
So where are you with that now?
It is a clinical trial, but what we call anecdotal studies in terms of what people who use them. We have more or less 100% about the 140 member cohort group, that people who took it and there was no disease and they survived it, about 140. But we're now doing a proper clinical trial at the University of Lagos, done by an independent body. Then, as I said, the issue of malaria drug, the artemisinin, is going to be, we are going to do it.
You think the West has finally found a cure for COVID-19?
They don't. They don't. The WHO report, all of the products that they tested, they all failed. All. Not some. All. So
How come they are vaccinating people?
It's a different. I think they're actually gathering data. This is actually using people as guinea pigs. If I may say, they're just gathering data to see.
Really?
Yeah, because the studies were not as in depth, perhaps because of the emergency nature of where we are. So, let me break it down in simpler terms. They say that they have cures of 90%. That's what they claim. Then the disease itself does not kill up to 5% so far of people who are infected. They don't up to 5%. So, which is better, to do nothing or to do something? When I was teaching, there was a joke I used to crack with my students. The same coronavirus, when you come for common cold, I used to tell them that if you treat it, you will be able to be free in 7 days. But if you don't treat it, it will go in 1 week. So my students will say, then what's the difference? I say, well, the peak is yours. All you need to do is to ameliorate the discomfort, the side effects, but the actual drug disease will not go away until it runs its course. Most viruses are like that, and they know and we know.
So did you not get any form of encouragement,
No.
from the government?
We did get some encouragement. For example, on the detoxy, IHP detoxy, which we had developed before the onset of this pandemic. We contacted the Raw Material Research and Development Council because we needed the raw materials, because it was more than we could handle. We are into drug manufacturing, but we have 23 brands, but we are not into big time scale manufacturing because of our source of material. We have 4 farms, agricultural farms, that make medicinal plant only. The 4 are not enough. So we contacted the Raw Material Council.
How many did you need? Or do you need?
We need tons and tons and tons of people.
The
only way it can be done is to outsource. So the Raw Material Research and Development Council gave us some grants, which we use in outsourcing. But where we needed help more is actually these clinical trials. So we then have, and luckily for us, again, a private sector person was the one who bailed us out in terms of the clinical trial.
How far do you see COVID-19 going?
I'm hoping that there will be a time we'll have what they call herd immunity. There will be enough people who have had it, and then it will not become more than normal viruses, other coronaviruses that we have. But what I'm also that gladdens my heart in terms of giving me hope, the fact that many people have gotten it and didn't know that they got it, and they got treated. So what we are now trying to advise people is that, look here, you just be careful, take care of yourself, regardless of what the society is doing. If you are 60, 65 and above, you should not overexpose yourself. Then one of the things we also realized, based on the traditional local therapy we had, that for the patient that we handled, it did not matter whether they had underlying ailments or not. They all got better. So we now started looking at those products for treatment of those so-called underlying ailments that those people had. Because there was somebody who had diabetes, he was obese, he was as old as I am. So he was one of those people in the orthodox medicine. He could have been dismissed as surely he was going to go. But he pulled through. The hope here is that over time, there will be enough people to have been immune to the disease, that the disease will then filter away.
Are you tired now? Or just retired?
I am both tired and retired. But what happened, I don't get involved in physical part of work. I do manage a group of scientists, very wonderful scientists. My partner, Professor Chukumba, and I have been together for about 25 years. He's from Mina, from Niger State. So we spend time arguing and logicking, and it keeps us.
And obviously, it also gives you enough time for the family, doesn't it?
Oh yes, it gives me. It doesn't give me enough time for the family. That's why I'm looking forward.
Would you want more time?
I want more time. I want more.
How much time do you want?
I rather now at this age now spend like 90% with my grandchildren. Not my children though, because my children
They have already done their job
to be able to be able to look after.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
Okay,
one girl and
the grandchildren are still. You're still counting.
I'm still counting.
Right, pick a question.
Okay, I hope I pick what I can answer.
Well.
Okay, it says, how are you spending your retirement?
I'm really interested too. Because you're not quiet.
Well, 2 things. I'm retired from some jobs, but I'm not retired from others.
Right.
I'm retired from public service, the government, politics, and all that. And it's difficult to convince people that I'm not interested, and they think that we are still active. I don't mind occasionally being consulted for advice, but I don't want to get involved in the partisan politics. I've never been a partisan
politician.
Not at all.
But have you ever, at any time of your quiet moments, reflected on the elections you conducted?
Oh yes, I have, and I'm glad that some of the things that we laid the foundation. There's nothing as beautiful as laying a foundation and seeing it being developed. I think it's a wonderful feeling, because every time you use the voter's card, it was my idea to have a permanent voter's card. I built an institute from scratch that it is still there. So I reminisce over that. My mother died in 2018, and I was to tears that INEC staff came to the burial, to the funeral with uniforms throughout the country. I left there 10 years earlier. I was in tears.
Why?
Because I didn't believe that I impacted their lives that much. I wasn't aware of that.
What challenge was the greatest for you while you were there?
The challenge is the impatience of Nigerians. They wanted it tomorrow. They wanted it now. What should be left for tomorrow? For example, we were caught with a situation where there had never been a transition from one civilian regime to another, ever, until we came on board. I also had to agree with President Obasanjo that was the main project, that was the main objective, that was the Rubicon we must cross. So we are prepared to give up everything, including the elegance of the electoral process itself. But whether there was anybody that tried to compromise, nothing. So those are the areas. Remember when you are talking about, I have to say that this is the area I don't want to go to, because of the fact that people are really not realistic. At the time until we had APC, PDP now operating how a political party should operate, that they are matched. The power can go either way. But at the other time, it was one dominant party that could actually even, the people boasted that even if you bring a dog and give it PDP together, it will win.
Are you convinced that there's an improvement?
Oh, there is an improvement. Oh, yeah, remarkable improvement. I give my kudos to my successors and the 2 of them. They have done a lot. As I said, you lay the foundation and build upon. And now the parties are matched. If nobody in Nigeria will be surprised if they wake up and see that the other party had won or the other one.
Majority of Nigerians are not really convinced that what we have is elections, but selection.
No.
You have your money, you can become anything.
But if you have your money, is it the problem of the umpire that you are compromised before you came to the booth? It's not his problem. Is it the problem of the umpire that you don't have the courage to be able to say no? It's not his problem. His problem is to make sure that the processes are in place, that the materials come on time, that whatever happened. And then one of the things that I observed the Edo election, one of the things that the INEC did very well was the fact that the results were announced almost in the same as the elections were finishing. Remember when I was in office, we had this telephone system that we had on. And because Nigerians were used to election results, waiting for a long time before they come. So when they now saw the kind of instantaneous relay, they thought it was something.
But what do you think about electronic voting?
Well, that's the way to go. We are not. There's nothing better than
And
it.
then people in the diaspora, Nigerians in the diaspora, make a lot of contributions to the economy of this country.
I agree.
Yet they have not been given the opportunity to.
Even they see America with all their sophistication,
Yeah.
they are battling with the diaspora votes.
Yeah.
Do you think if we had that controversy here, we'll survive it?
Why would we not be able to? I mean, we
No,
have
no,
embassies. We
no,
have
no, no, no.
embassies all over
the
the
logistics.
world.
No, the logistics is very. The INEC can do it today. No, there's nothing about the logistics. I'm talking about this culture of disbelief. A culture where you don't have self-confidence, where you don't trust the other person. There has to be a minimum level of trust. As I say, America, with all their sophistication, is creating.
What other things do you think about, when you are resting these days about Nigeria?
I'm one of those. My only problem I have, I'm one of those people who actually believe that Nigeria belongs to me. Nigeria as a whole. I don't see myself.
But you have been ripped apart.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but that's what. So we have to be the glue that holds the place together. I have in-laws that are Fulanis. I have my second son. His name is Kadiri. We are not Muslims. Well, because he was named after a friend of mine. So we have to reclaim the country that is ours. We should not allow people to, out of bigotry, to push us to a corner.
So you will be allowed only 5 items to take along for these 10 days.
Yes.
What will they be?
Okay. First of all, if I'm going to stay out that long, I will have to have my rosary. I'm a Catholic.
Okay.
So my rosary will number one.
Yeah.
Then I'll have to have my Bible. Then I'll have choose some books that I've been wanting to read. Then the other issue that I need, because of modern era we are living in, I cannot accept to be totally out of communication. So I will have to have a laptop or a tablet that is put into use that I can use and send messages and then be able to receive messages. Of course, wouldn't I be able to eat during the period? I think I will want some food with me.
What kind of food do you enjoy eating, really? Do you cook?
I not anymore, not that much. But I do my vegetables sometimes myself. So I don't eat meat at all. At all.
You never eat meat?
No, oh yes, I used to when I was younger. But one particular Lenten season, I didn't eat meat throughout the period as something I gave up. So I asked myself, if I can do without it this much, why can't I? But before then, my elder brother, who is a professor of medicine at Uniben, when we were growing up, I didn't like the look of the goat's head when it's cut. Somehow, for some reason, the tongue comes out. And that used to scare me to the head. And my brother used to make joke of that.
So you don't eat goat head?
No, I don't like that.
At all?
No,
Never?
Never. That one is even worse. Because I get scared of just looking at the goat's head when it's cut.
And somebody will not present this for you on Christmas Day?
No. That would be a nightmare.
If you have one wish to make,
yes,
what would it be?
To take my lovely wife to a holiday somewhere, so where she will be.
She has done so well for you, hasn't she?
She has done so well for me, and it's really an incredible love story. She is the daughter of a friend of mine that I used to meet at church. Where I used to go to morning mass and met. I saw
these things usually come out of masses, churches, and all of that.
Yeah, God has a way of fixing this, doesn't He? So, if I will have some wish, it would be to give this big family of mine a grand.
Where would you take your wife to?
That would be a big question because she doesn't like traveling that much. So it has to be somewhere not too far. She doesn't like flying long distances, so probably we'll go to Jos.
Jos?
Yes, Jos.
Not anywhere outside this country.
We have everything. What do we lack? I could have taken her to Gembu. Have you been to Gembu before?
Never.
You've never seen the world. That's one unique place God created for us. Gembu in Taraba. It's wonderful. Out of this world. There are no flies. If you see the cows, their skin is like as if something you play with. They're like very polished and so on. So I could have taken her to Gembu. I took Kunu this afternoon, the Fulani drink. Do they have that in Canada? They don't. But if you appreciate what we have, the enormity of this country, you'll be able to, you hate anybody who tried to tear it up. I hate anybody who out of bigotry.
Professor Maurice Uwu, you are truly Nigerian.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on this program.
Thank you.
It's been The Chat with Professor Maurice Uwu. You know him. I am Manny. See you next time.
The Chat is produced by Channels Television. You can watch it again online. Just visit our social media platforms: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.